don't know what they got going on. Here we are. Oh, I got to do this thing. All right. We're live. Let me get it. I got to change it. There's probably a way to do this like in advance, but I'm not smart enough to know how. Once we're live, I can make it a public live thing so that folks can share it and see it. So now it's public. So if you want to go share it to your group and whoever else is following you, send it.
I'm going to do that right
Full
now.
send. Happy Wednesday night, everybody. Oh, I forgot to do this. Happy Wednesday night, everybody. Oh, look at you. You got a lineup. You got a lineup. I thought those were just like display beers, but those are the beers. You're ready to go.
It's the beers.
I don't remember if I had this the last time you were on. I probably did, and I'm sure if I did, I showed it off because this is my favorite Christmas present ever. Is my wife got me the beer fridge. She's stocked up.
That thing is sweet.
She's ready to go. She's humming. She's humming right along. What's up, ladies and gents? Happy Wednesday night. This is I did a bonus episode last night, just like a hunt recap with my buddy that I went with, but as business nerds do, while we were down there in Arizona for 2 weeks, we ran into another elk hunting dude who was a local guy to Flagstaff, Arizona, happens to run a business. And we became best friends immediately. And we hunted with him for like 4 or 5 days. And that was super cool. So he's actually coming whitetail hunting with us in Illinois in November. And he came on the show last night to do like a hunt/business owner adventure recap. So that was super cool, which this was not happening the last time I talked to you, Jason, is I'm starting I don't know if this is a business. It'll be an entity. It's not a business, but I'm starting business owner outdoor badasses. Boob. It's Boob. Boob LLC. To all of our wives' dismay or husband's dismay, because it's not sexually exclusive. There will be males and females if there's a female into the outdoors. But it's to do mastermindy type of stuff without a agenda per se, like just going on adventures and doing hard shit. And those are like the most valuable relationships and times I find for me as an outdoorsy dude. So I got to get that going. I got a lot of folks interested. I just haven't started it yet because, there's always shit to do.
Count me in.
I got to get that going. What are you into? What are your outdoor pursuits? What do you like to chase?
Most times it's more kind of on the extreme sport side. So snowboarding, typical hiking, backpacking, that sort of stuff. But snowboarding is my jam. Love that. Obviously here in Colorado, we've got some good spots.
Yeah, you're in an okay spot for that. You're in an okay spot.
Yeah, it's all right. Fishing, not a big hunter. In fact, I've never been hunting, but I'd be open to trying it.
I don't know what type of hunting events we're going to do. In my mind, the format of this thing is like, we'll have however many people in the group, 40, 50, 500. I don't know. Business owners that like to do stuff outdoors and go on 3 to 10 day adventures, whatever. We do one. I know for sure we're going to do an ice fishing event because that's just fun to hang out, drink beer, pull fish through a floor. It's glamping, like we're in a RV out on the ice. But it's just fun. You're just hanging out, talking business for like days and days and days. Super fun. We do a canoe trip in the Boundary Waters, like right up by the Canadian border. You're going in for 4 to 10 hours of just going, and you're canoeing and you're carrying and you're canoeing and you're carrying, and then you kind of like base camp or hop around and you fish and you eat and drink too much out in the middle of nowhere.
Love it.
So that's a cool one. I think we'll do some ocean fishing for sure. Like there's cool ways to do that. We'll do some like ocean fishing. Hunting will be weird because it's hard to do hunting in a group. You're usually
especially a big group.
I envision a pheasant hunt, like pheasant hunting. You're walking around a bunch. You can do it in big groups, and actually like you need a bigger group to be successful because you do blocking and pushing through fields. And I think like I envision a duck hunt in Louisiana. And you're either like out in the timber or they have like big blinds that can fit like 10, 20 people and you can like cook breakfast in the damn things. And I think that would be cool because you can like kind of BS and then you're like, shh, here comes the ducks. So I think we'll do something like that. We'll see. I will let you know once I get said boob started. But I'm pretty stoked for that. The other thing that already happened that I'm stoked about, Service Monster, Home Service Happy Hour, brought to you by Service Monster. We have a sponsor, and like to point this out, and this is something I'm like always adamant about in my business, which is I never want to sell anybody anything. Nobody likes to be sold. I want to help a lot of people, and you can call that sales, but like being sold something that you don't actually need sucks. And one of the things I like about Service Monster is they don't do that. They don't sell you a bunch of shit. They're very invested in just helping the small business owner. They're priced super fairly. They have some of the best tools. And I turned down multiple sponsorship offers for this podcast, literally because I didn't accept them as a sponsor because I was like, oh, let me get paid a little bit so I can sell you guys some shit. No, like I turned down 2 of those. One that I just really didn't want to sponsor me, and they're a huge company. A lot of people use them. I just don't believe in them. I don't like them. They always try to sell me shit. I've blocked them so many times, and they keep messaging me and trying to sell me shit. And I'm like, stop trying to sell me shit and start trying to help people. Then I'd be interested. But you're not interested in helping people. You're just interested in growing your revenue so you can sell to another private equity company for more money. I think it's stupid. Not my game. I had a marketing company that wanted to sponsor me, but I hadn't used them before. And I've used Service Monster, and it works, and I like it. And I will not be sponsored by something that I don't use. I don't want to sell people shit. That's not what it's here for. I'm here to drink beer and talk to Jason. And if Service Monster wants to support that, cool. And thank you, Service Monster, for doing it. I say this on every episode, especially in the fall. Check them out. Like if you have a CRM but it's not perfect, check out Service Monster. I'm not saying it's the right fit for everybody. CRMs are goofy. It's got to fit for you. So don't just take my word for it. Go scope it out. See if it works for you. And also, don't switch CRMs right now. It's October 2nd. Go make money. Don't switch CRMs. That's like changing your oil while you're driving the car down the road. You ain't going to do it. And if you try, it's stupid. It ain't going to work. And you'll be miserable. Change it in the winter when things slow down, or whenever your slowest time of year is. That's when you change your CRM. Don't do it when you're busy. Not on October 2nd. You're probably really busy. So go do busy stuff and make money, and check out Service Monster when it works for you. How you doing, Jason Hoke?
Words of wisdom, man. That was a lot right at the top. I'm just feeling like I'm full of knowledge now. I'm doing great.
Have you ever changed the CRM at the wrong time?
Oh yeah. I've been basically rebuilding our company's operating system for the last year and a half, and every year it's the same thing. We get to the start of the season, I'm like, cool, we're not making any changes until we get to winter, and then inevitably we're changing things throughout the year. And all of my team's going, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Why did you change that right now? Like, we're going full speed. Why did you switch that now?
Right. Yeah, we're building the car as we're driving it.
I find in my experience, here's the order of magnitude. Changing CRMs is the worst. Even if you do it when it's slow, it sucks because you can't like take your data from one to the other very easily, especially if you have recurring services. If you're in maid service, lawn care, anything with a route, like commercial window cleaning, anything with a route sucks because you can't take that future schedule and move it. You have to like manually rebuild it. You can move your client data a lot of times, but the historical stuff isn't usually the important thing. It's the forward stuff that's the important thing, the forward schedule. There's just no good way to get the data from one to the other. So that sucks about it. I think switching payroll companies is maybe second worst, only because I hate the tax stuff and this number and that number and this and you probably run into this with Issue ID. I run into it in my bookkeeping business, which is I have employees across the country. And so to switch anything with all these different state tax IDs, like I can't keep them all straight. I don't know. I just hope Gusto's on it. I just hope Gusto's got it all figured out. But switching payroll companies sucks. If you have to do that, if you're out there and you're thinking about switching payroll companies, I recommend Gusto. I like Gusto a lot. We work with all of them, but Gusto is who we tend to recommend just because it makes our lives easier because they're pretty dialed in.
That's what we use.
Nice. They're super cost effective, easy to use, and their reporting is probably the best of the ones that I've worked. And we've worked with ADP and Paychex and Sure Payroll and you name it. Gusto.
I'll add to their HR little package that you can get with it is actually really good. It's awesome. Yeah. You can you basically have an HR team through Gusto. So you basically just, your employees have questions related to HR. You can point them to the representatives at Gusto and they'll help you out.
Yeah. They have some nice bolt-ons like that, even benefit bolt-ons and workers' comp bolt-ons. back to my bias of I don't like to be sold shit. Every other payroll company that we work with, even like I have hundreds of clients on QuickBooks. QuickBooks tries, they have a rep that calls me and I refuse to answer because I've talked to them a couple times and they only want to sell more shit. They don't actually care about me and my clients. They only care about who I can sell them to. No interest in that. Every payroll, whether it's QuickBooks Payroll or QuickBooks Bookkeeping, they're like separate companies under the same umbrella. ADP, Paychecks, they all have reps. And every time a rep contacts me, they're not my rep. They're just a sales rep. At Gusto, my rep is like my rep. And if I have a new client that's working with Gusto, I'm like, yo, Jake, can you help this person? And I can like do this with Jake. I can just jump on a video call with Jake, and Jake's like, yep, let's figure it out. Let's get him set up. Obviously he's incentivized to get them set up. That helps him probably. And he maybe gets an incentive for it. And he will send me offers and deals, but he'll never like push me to sell it. He just says like, hey, just so you know, like if you have people that want to switch to Gusto, have them take this offer. Like, let me help them. Not, hey, you need to push this because I need you to sell 10 more clients before the end of this month. Like he never pushes that agenda. He's just like, let me know how I can help. If somebody wants to switch, you let them know what we do. I trust you to be an advocate. And if they want to switch, let me know how I can help. And it's just like, man, no other payroll company gives me that. Not even close.
Yeah. You know who I feel like we're pitching so many people here at the top, but it's worth it. If they're good at business, let's get their name out there. But
who else you got? Besides Issue ID. We got to talk about those guys too.
HubSpot has been awesome for us. HubSpot is not a traditional CRM for the trades. Like you don't see a lot of guys in the trades using it. We love it. But it's the same thing. Like we got partnered early on with the like sweetest, kind of soft-spoken little onboarding manager. We call her New York Julie. She's not from New York, by the way. She's from, I want to say, Boston or something. But it was East Coast, so she was.
Just came.
Yeah, we named her New York Julie. Yeah. She was meant just to be our onboarding manager. She's like our person. It's like anytime we have anything that ever happens with HubSpot, we just hit up New York Julie. She makes it right.
I like the nickname. Like there's a term of endearment. And nobody gets a nickname. People only get nicknames because they're awesome or they're a piece of shit. You don't get a nickname for being average. No. So that's a good term of endearment there. I have seen HubSpot a couple times, but I haven't seen people like run their business with it, just their sales. Like it's so robust on the client tracking side of it. I don't know. It doesn't like for your landscaping business, it doesn't do like routing and stuff, does it? It's just
it doesn't do routing, but the nice part about HubSpot is it's completely customizable and it is robust. It depends how deep you want to get in. Like you can start with the free version, which is basically your like basic CRM, keep track of all your client data.
Yep.
And they've just got different hubs, right? So they have the sales hub, they have a marketing hub, they have like multiple different hubs that you can sign up for. So it can also get very pricey depending how in depth you go. And we've gone all out. So I'm well aware.
You use it for the landscaping business or for Issue ID or both?
Both. So with the landscaping business in particular, that's where we built it out the most. And we started really just for that piece that you're talking about for sales. We're like, all right, we're going to really like make our sales process super dialed. We're like all recurring revenue, right? So we're going to get this super dialed. We're going to like automate as much as we can because we do a lot of lower average job size work. So it's like not worth spending any time, like having humans spend time on the sales process for those really small jobs. So like, we're going to just dial this in. That's what we did the first year, got the sales process really dialed. And then we've just built on it since then. So really like our tech stack now truly is that kind of hub and spoke model. Like I got away from the notion that one software is going to do it all a long time ago. Like I know it's not.
Yep.
So
maybe someday, but
maybe someday.
not soon. It doesn't seem like soon. I tend to see it's going the other way, the specialized way.
And I like that. It's like be really good at like one little thing, right? Like hyper focus in on that thing. If you're a software, like do like one little thing really, really well before you start expanding out. I think too many of these software companies just like throw features at the wall just to put them on their feature list because they've got to compete with like competitor B over here, right? It's like,
Yep.
oh, they have that
Yeah,
feature. We
they've
got to
got
have
it,
that
so I
feature.
better be able to do that. I actually
Yeah.
think for home service businesses, 99% of the time, I'm a huge advocate for don't connect your CRM to QuickBooks. Like if you're a small home service business, you're cash basis. You don't need all your invoices and whatever. If you're managing your AR, if you're looking at what jobs you have to do, if you're looking at who owes you money, you go look at your CRM. You don't look at QuickBooks. You don't need that data in your QuickBooks. But at some point in time, a CRM was the first one to be like, we can connect your CRM to QuickBooks. And everybody was like, sweet, that must be awesome. But nobody was like, why? And so everybody started doing it. And now when you set up a CRM, it's like they don't even give you an option. They just make it seem like this is how it works. And so when we do bookkeeping, that's like a question I ask. And today I had 2 demos. Both of them were like, yep, I got it connected. And I was like, is there a reason why? And they're like, I don't really know. And I was like, does it create issues? Yeah, all the time. It's like, I think we're just gonna go ahead and disconnect that. Like, unless we find some hidden gem of a reason why. And like every once in a while we do for different reporting reasons or something. But like at least no less than 99 out of 100 clients have no business connecting it. But sometimes somebody said, hey, we can connect them. And it's like, that must be sweet. We should probably do that. And it just started just like this Jones effect of everybody had to be the one to do like, oh, that can do it. We got to be able to put it on our feature list that we can do it too. So that's it.
Yeah. Anytime you're going to connect any piece of software to another piece of software, you really have to be clear on like the intentions behind doing that and how that's going to behave. And that's the problem with a lot of those integrations I've seen from CRMs to QuickBooks in particular. It's like we built the integration to work this way and it only works that way. So you better run your business this way. Because if you're trying to do anything outside of that.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's none of them, even like I work with one in particular that it's a CRM, but they invoice through QuickBooks. Like it's dependent on QuickBooks to invoice. Yet they sign people up and I do bookkeeping for a lot of the clients. Super awesome CRM. Like it's badass. But they don't tell their customers that, hey, you got to do all this shit in QuickBooks. And the customers don't know how to do their QuickBooks. And it like changes all their processes. And then all of a sudden their sales get duplicated all over the place. And it's just a nightmare. And it's just like, yeah, it's a sweet CRM. And it's going to take you 2 to 3 hours extra a month to do all this extra work because of this. So let us know how we can help. Like,
and then you're the one that gets to have those fun conversations with them when they come to you and they're like, we sold $1 million this quarter. You're like, no, you sold 500,000, but everything's doubled. Because of the way it's pushing to QuickBooks.
We'll clean it up for you. That'll cost you $1,000, so you actually made even less money. So what's going on in your world? How's the business world? Let's talk landscaping a little bit first. And I want to get into issue ID and just it's been about a year since we chatted on this podcast last. So we'll dig into all that stuff. But just how's business in general? Are you feeling the effects of a election year and all that weird uncertainty? Are you guys scaling the way you want to scale? Anything cool that you found or anything stupid that sucks that you found?
You know, we haven't been feeling too many effects from like external effects. I'll say that. I know a lot of people are talking, like I work with obviously a lot of other contractors on the issue ID side. So I hear it all the time of like big jobs aren't selling as much anymore. And we're having to like kind of rethink our structure there. We've been pretty fortunate that we haven't experienced that. I think part of it's our business model. Like I said, we have a lower average job size for a lot of our jobs, that sort of thing. So we haven't been feeling the external effects. We've been feeling a ton of like internal effects. So we're at a period where we're kind of restructuring our company a bit on the landscape side, and just like every year has always been like growth, like grow that top line revenue. And that's what we're doing. And we finally hit this point where it's like, hey, like we're actually kind of good with where we're at on top line. We had a little bit of growth that we needed to get this year, but like now let's really focus on like making this business as profitable as possible, making smart decisions, really making sure our team is established and like really empowered. So that's been what we've been focusing on this year. And I'd be lying if I said it was all smooth and wonderful. It's like this year we had some real challenges as a business. We had to like, anytime you're taking a real good look internally, you have to have some pretty uncomfortable conversations. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, this year we've had probably more uncomfortable conversations than we ever had before. We've, made some decisions that were really tough, but I'm pretty proud of our team and where we're at, because we've really, like, looking back to like the start of this year to where we're at now, like, man, we're like a completely different company. We still have a long ways to go. We're going to keep like grinding that out, but it's been like, it's crazy to see that transformation. And
Yeah.
yeah, we're just going to keep doing it.
It is funny too when you're like pushing and growing and pushing and growing. It's easy to ignore a lot of those things
Oh yeah.
because everybody can kind of fake it and rally around growth, but it actually probably like makes the inevitable worse. Like it doesn't just delay the inevitable, it makes the inevitable harder to deal with because it just hasn't been dealt with in so long. And eventually, like you just got to grapple with it. And it might be a process thing, it might be a people thing. Usually it's a people thing that becomes a process thing, or they're very tied together. Jason and I, before we jumped on, we were talking about that. I was gone for 2 weeks and just like trying to fit back into my business. And we're small. We started a year ago. We have 12 people on the team. We're growing really fast, but I don't like building systems and processes. I'm terrible at it. I just like going and having fun and engaging people. And my team suffers as a result of my disliking of building systems and processes. So when I'm gone for 2 weeks, and I can't just make it up on the fly, we have a lack of systems and processes to run by. Super enlightening that we can now focus on those things, because we're like, shit, our systems and processes for this aren't very good because Dan sucks at building systems and processes. but it's so funny, like you have to hit those moments of pause and be like, all right, we've pushed that revenue button enough times. Like, let's push this like efficiency button a few times, this administrative button a few times, and make sure we got it. And I don't know if you ran into this at all, but I see this a lot, especially as you're getting into like the millions of dollars. You transition this weird transition from like, we need managers to we need leaders. And I was talking about that earlier, like with me being gone, it was like, shit, my team just doesn't have, like, I'm not there. They're used to me being around to pump them up and rally them, and like I'm a goofball, but they're here because they know I'm a goofball and they like that I'm a goofball. At least I hope they like I'm a goofball. Otherwise, I don't know why they're here. But it's funny. It's like that leadership piece of it is probably the hardest to grasp and hire and train because it's so nuanced. And managing is like, here's the checklist. And leadership doesn't have that same type of checklist necessarily. And as you hit millions of dollars, that's the thing that's hard to replicate, is like, Jason, how the hell do you replicate Jason? You can put all the things down in bullet points that you want to manage, but how the hell do you do that from a leadership perspective? And it gets goofy.
Oh yeah. You're basically defining like our year this year. Like our big thing has been really truly establishing our leadership team on like a next level. And it's, it takes work, it's a challenge. It does take some of those processes too. Like there's got to be a way, and it's not just like a process like an infield process where you can kind of define it, hand it off, and then it's good, like guys are implementing it. Oftentimes with the more simple processes, this is like a, define it, start to implement it, work very closely with the leaders on your team, tweak it, like learn from it and grow, and like do that over and over and over again. We've this year we actually implemented kind of a new system as a whole. Have you heard of EOS before?
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you, like, it seems like you're at the point where getting the rocks and getting to this and getting the VTO and all that stuff is like, you just, whether you call it that or do something different, like you hit a point where you just need that. And it's not a thing you need when you're doing $1 million. Like when we were doing 3 million in multiple businesses, I talked to a not an integrator. What's the word that EOS uses?
Implementer. They have an integrator and an implementer.
Yeah. It wasn't the integrator. I was stuck. I'm a visionary, but I was stuck playing integrator. It's dangerous, very dangerous. But one of the guys in my CEO roundtable, like one of the sponsors of it, is an EOS implementer, and I talked to him in length about it. And he's like, "You guys are the right size, but you're so fragmented that like you would need a different VTO for like each different thing you're doing. You got this window cleaning thing and that maid service thing and this bookkeeping thing and this recruiting thing, and you're so spread out that it doesn't make sense for like where you're at right now with all of your businesses. And I was like, good, because man, I felt like I was trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, but the principles of it just made a lot of sense. Like we still had a leadership team. We were just very fragmented. But it seems like whether it's EOS or some form of it, once you hit multi-millions, like you have to have some sort of systematized leadership program and managerial program like that to keep the train on the tracks.
Totally. Yeah. It really becomes your operating system, like how we do business. And you're right. Like
it is EOS. It literally is the entrepreneur.
Right.
So I should be able to manage that for you.
Yeah. It's, you're right. It's like at a certain size, it's much more about like the skill sets on your team and like the who, not how sort of thing. Like it's just
who,
like,
not how.
you have,
right. Whenever somebody says that, I always have to chant it back. It's just the thing I do.
It's like you got to just like get those right people in. You got to be able to improvise. You got to be able to like you were saying, like I got to be able to like, make a decision and on the fly and tweak it. And like you're oftentimes at that point a big part of that driving force. And then you get to a certain point and it's like no matter how hard I try, I can't like be that person anymore. So we need something, and that's what we've been working on this year with ACA is just like really getting that leadership team in, getting our like rhythm down as a leadership team. Like how do we even work together? Like how do we like what is the rhythm? Because you could easily just without like a system find yourself just like spending every single day all day in meetings or like some other like nightmare like scenario. So
that's me anytime I'm running a meeting. I think everybody else is in a nightmare scenario of like, oh shit, here goes Dan. He's in like at the size we're at, I'm that integrator and I'm the worst. I run a meeting like it's an episode of this. We're all over the place. Up here, we're down there. What do you guys want to talk about? Hey, like here's the thing I just thought of. Let's talk about this. Not good at running meetings.
Someday, I'm the same way. That is like, I think the term visionary gets like overused a lot, but it's like that really defines like that personality style. And that's like, we're both that. Like, I'm the same way in meetings. I'm like, so let's talk about this crazy idea I woke up last night and wrote down. And like, I think that we should implement it tomorrow. And like everyone else on the team is like, dude, I'm just like trying to get by today. And you're talking about like adding a whole new division to the company.
But I bet you can captivate them because I kind of picture you with like a guitar in your hand. You're like, I think this idea is going to land better if I sing it to you. Let me try this whatever chord this is, and we'll
room would clear out so fast.
This is such a good idea. We're going to hard rock melody on this one. We're going hard like a Rage Against the Machine type of idea. We're going to take over the world. Next time you have a good idea, I want you got to go hard at it.
All right, done, deal. I'll record it too. Send it your way.
I think you're going to actually appreciate this. When we haven't done this yet, by the way, but I'm just waiting for the opportunity. In our communication, we have a communication process when we're reaching out to clients, and email is not the number one, right? All of our clients are small business owners. They don't read their damn emails. We will email them to document stuff. And if we need them to if we need to be able to point back to it, email's the best because then we can all see it through our CRM. But text message is generally the best. If we need to get a hold of a business owner, text them. Next is like whatever messenger they use, right? They might be on Facebook, they might be on WhatsApp, they might be on Vox or whatever messenger type of thing they're in. Phone call is better than email, especially if you can't get a hold of them. Call their business line because they might think you're a customer. Then they'll answer. Then it's email, and then it's passenger pigeon, and then the last one, this is documented. The last one is a singing telegram. Because that, like, if you really needed to get someone's attention, that's going to get them. And it's going to embarrass the fuck out of them. And especially, like, we're waiting for the time when somebody, like, hasn't paid their bill in a while and owes us a bunch of money and is being a douchebag. They're getting a singing telegram. And that's how we're going to fire them as a client. They get the singing telegram. Or if we don't want to fire them, but we want to play a joke on them and we really need something, like they're not getting it to us and we can't do our job if we don't get it, they get the singing telegram. Maybe we'll hire you to do the singing telegram. You could probably run out there and lay down a little ballad for them, tell them why they suck.
You don't want me singing. I'll go out and play some drums to them. That'll get everyone's attention, but you don't want me singing.
No, I think that would be perfect. I think like if you were like dialed in and really great at it, that wouldn't be good. Then they would maybe enjoy it, right? It's got to be not enjoyable. They're the ones that suck to get that message.
I love the idea of like a property manager or some like a business owner or someone like getting this telegram at the office and the entire office slowly coming and watching.
Yeah.
And the whole song's just about like, we really need you to pay your bill like yesterday.
Yeah. You're being avoiding. We don't like the way you're wishy-washy and you're very dodgy. We had one guy, still a client, but I bet we've had a dozen conversations about like, is he crossing that line where he's being such an asshole that we're going to fire him? And we've put up with him and he's gotten better. And I knew he was like this when we brought him on as a client. Like I was prepared for it. I didn't really know how to prepare our team for it. Besides, like, he's the threshold that we compare all clients. If we're like, are they just going to be a total disrespectful pain in the ass? I mean, like, he's disrespectful to our team. And I've told our team, like, you guys can fire him. I mean, like, it doesn't, if you guys say, hey, he's over the line, he gone. Like, you're more important than that one client is. If you're fine with him, cool, we'll keep him. But it like has to be your call. It's not my call. I brought him in, but I know who he is. And he did calm down a little bit. But man, we were like this close to going singing telegram on him. He was being a dick and he hadn't paid like 2 bills. And so we kind of like paused services. And I was like, if he gets sour about us pausing his services and he hasn't paid 2 bills, like I wrote lyrics. We were ready. I wrote some lyrics. We were ready for him. We're coming with that singing telegram. But then he paid his bills. I was kind of bummed. He paid.
That is kind of a bummer. I really just want him to not pay. Like I want to see that.
I was a bit rooting for it. I was a bit rooting for him to stiff us so I could send him a singing telegram.
Yeah. But like you can't be a dick in that scenario. Like you're put on your heels when you've got a singing telegram. I imagine. I mean, I've never got a singing telegram, but it's like,
I mean, for sure we'd pay somebody to deliver it and we'd pay somebody to record it. Because if anything, it would just be really funny content.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll see. It's gonna happen someday. It's gonna happen, and I'm just excited for the day. It's kind of like it's a bit like insurance. Like you don't want to use it, but if you have to, you're glad you have it. It's our insurance.
Got it in your back pocket. Yeah.
The singing telegram. Highly recommend it. I don't know why. No, I don't highly recommend it. I've never used it, but I highly recommend the implementation of that idea. Talk about it at your next L10. You guys can talk about it. That one you can bring to the team. Like, hey guys, I got a great idea. I know this isn't part of our process here, but I just got to spill this one on you. Singing telegrams.
Love it.
See where they go with that one. So do you feel like you're over that leadership hump, or is there more going into 2025, more tweaks, more changes, more add-ons, whatever where are you guys at now? I guess maybe give us like a revenue perspective or a number of employee perspective. Like what's the cusp that you're trying to work yourself over and get yourself to?
Yeah, honestly, it's not even like a revenue growth sort of situation right now. It's more like making it more sustainable. So to answer your first question, like I think we're over that initial hump in that like we have a leadership team now that like feels comfortable in their roles. The roles are well defined. We have a system for like that leadership team coming together and working together. That's like the hard part, right? Is like how now do we not get siloed, and how do we actually make sure that we understand how our like different roles work together and how these different functions of the business interact. So we're over that hump. I think like anything, there's still a lot of development to go. Like we all need to be better. Like I'm learning a ton of lessons this year, and that's what's kind of hard for me. In the past with our old model, I just always felt like I'm like, no, like I'm the one who knows it and I'm just trying to like help all these.
Let me decide if I want to solve that problem for you or string you out to make you solve it. That's like when you're smaller, you feel like that's your decision matrix is, should I solve this for you or should I let you try to solve it?
Totally. So this new process, like it's it's a gut check, I think, for most owners and visionaries that go into that sort of process. Is it's like, oh, like people are going to be telling me what to do sometimes now. Like there's times now where, like, for example, our office manager, excuse me, she's in charge of finances. She handles all of our like internal bookkeeping and that sort of stuff. And she's the one telling me no all the time because I'm the one with like the grandiose idea that's like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And she's like, yeah, we're not doing any of that. Like that's that's not gonna happen. Like,
no, I own this
yeah.
thing. We're gonna do this thing. No, boss. No, we're not.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like a huge positive actually. It just is like a gut check. It's just like it
like Jason, show me that show me those financials, show me that business model. Well, I don't have that yet exactly. But you can imagine what it's gonna be like. So
right. But I've got 100 ideas written on a napkin that I can show you. Like, these are all great. They're all gold.
Yeah.
But
everyone's gonna work for sure. No doubt.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have written them down if they weren't gonna work. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. But that's been good. The where we're at as a business right now is we're right at like that little over $3 million mark. We've got roughly like 28 employees, somewhere in that range. And we're actually quite comfortable at that size right now. We'll grow a little bit each year, but past couple of years we've been growing by $750 million like each year. To get up to run up to this point. And so now we're just kind of focusing on like, let's kind of steady growth here moving forward rather than swinging for the fences. And those efficiencies that we talked about, like let's dial in the efficiencies. Let's make sure that everyone understands their role, that everyone's comfortable with their role, and that we've got the right people on the team. So it's just like a kind of structuring. For 2025, I think it's just going to be much of the same. Like the game we're playing now is like, how do we drive, like we've been so focused on that top line revenue, like how do we drive top line? It's like, how do we drive the most revenue while still like maintaining the things we need to maintain down to that bottom line so that we can really maximize like the things that we all want to do as a business. Like that's how we need to be able to fund the future growth and the crazy ideas that I come on a Wednesday morning with and decide that we're going to do. Like we can only do those if we have the profits to do that. And that's what we're really focusing on now. And that's like any business, it allows you to do cool shit. Like whether that's like giving all your staff a 10% raise at the start of the next year, or whether it's implementing like a really cool incentive structure or gamifying the work that you do, which are all things that like we're playing with and that we do. Those are the things that we want to continue being able to grow. And so now we're really just focused on that.
One of the things my friend Janet had ran this by me as her business grew. And she always spoke very matter of fact. And I love that about her because she just cut right through any of the BS. It was like, this is how it is. And she always was right with it. One of the things she had said about scaling her business, and she was in the beverage industry, like she brewed stuff for small breweries that didn't have the capacity to brew it. She was the middleman. She found the brewery that could brew the beer for that person or brew the cocktail for that person. And she had said, as her business scaled, she's like, I finally grew it to a point where I could pay people what they were worth. And that really resonated with me because especially in like starting Best Damn Bookkeeping, like when you're really small, you pay them as much as you possibly can, but you wish you could pay them more. And there is like a tipping point where you feel like you can really truly reward people. And they're really high performers, but it doesn't happen immediately. Like the first, and I had this conversation with a couple of my employees when I was actually out in Arizona, is like, I got to find a way to like get you guys to where you need to be. And it's like a frustration for everybody, but it's my problem to solve. And I'm not at 3 million yet. We just started this business a year ago, and we'll get there and we'll go crazy and it'll be tons of fun. But there is this weird like early point in your business where you need people that are very just bought into where you're going. To help get you there. And then you got to figure out how the hell to reward them. And like money isn't always the thing you have available as a small business owner. Like last month I lost 10 grand we invested in some shit. We had some bills land, and it's like, okay. And like, I just remember going to my wife, like, hey, by the way, that $7,500 that's gone out of the bank account, I just needed to borrow a few bucks from us to pay for people to get a paycheck. It's cool. Don't worry about it. It'll come back later. But it is kind of funny, and I don't want to put you on the spot with it, but I feel like as you get, to a couple million, it starts to, you crest this point where you're like, to what you just said, like, I could give people a 10% raise. Just on the merit of the business, not even on the merit of their performance per se, but like, I can pay a more competitive wage in general because we have enough scale and we have enough breadth to be able to take care of people really well. And like I said, when Janet told me that, I was just like, man, I've taken that for granted when I've been there, and I forget, like, I just put my head down and grind through the struggle of when it's a small business and you're starting out and you're not there. And like, everybody has to be bought in. If you're not bought in, you just leave. Like, if you don't believe in it, you just end up leaving because there's nothing there for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think what I like about this model that we adopted this year, it's the first time I feel like, we've had a little bit of this in the past, but it's the first time I really feel like we have, especially on this leadership team, like, it's not just me owning that, like, because my default in the past has just been like, yeah, like, we're going to bump everyone's wages up by X%. We're going to do this. And like,
I feel like we can.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of that was like, yeah, I want to, like, I see the work these guys are doing. I've been in the field. I know how hard it is. Like, I get it. So like, let's bump it up. And I would do that, but I would oftentimes, when I'm making the decision, I would do that before we were ready to do that. And then I would spend the next year catching up to the fact that it's like, dude, you just, like, any money that we had that we could retain for like future growth and that sort of stuff, you just gave away.
It seemed fun. Everybody else wanted it too, and I thought they would love it. So I couldn't help myself. Hashtag visionary.
Yeah. So this year, what's cool is it's like we have a team of people who fully understand, like, the ins and outs of the business. Like, they're looking at the numbers more than I am. They're looking, like, we're reviewing it monthly, doing a monthly financial review meeting with the leadership team, where we're like, they have full visibility into the P&L. They own certain, like, all the different expense accounts, and the income accounts are owned by members of the leadership team, not me. And so they're responsible for it. So ultimately, like, yeah, it is what you're talking about, where it's like, yeah, we want to, like, one of the things we want to do is, it's like, we really want to, like, now we want to be able to bump pay up to X, right? Or Y for these people. But it's like an equation now that everyone understands. It's not like a whim, like a decision that I'm making on a whim. It's like, no, it's like, in order for us to do that, here's what we have to do. Maybe it's like, we got to cut some other things. We got to cut these things over here. We got to increase revenue here. But it's just an equation, and it's not me running that equation anymore. It's a team of people running that equation.
You'd be like, hey, I think we got to do this 10% raise for everybody, in your office manager would be like, no, Jason, that's never going to fly.
Yeah. Did you fail math?
But everybody's working so hard. They're going to love it. They're going to love it.
Exactly.
Do you have, I want to get to issue ID and get an update on that and what you got going on, and tell people all about it, because I think it's freaking cool. But in this is for either business. Do you guys have like an exit strategy? Do you have hey, if we get to this level, we'll think about selling or partnering or going with an ESOP or anything like that? And I'm asking for a friend, me. Like, this is a weird thing for now. Like, this business for me is new. I had a bookkeeping business I ran for 5 years. I tried to buy it from my partners. They didn't want to sell it to me. I started fresh. Now it's all mine, which is freaking cool. But I'm like very much in this. I don't have an exit strategy. I'm a year in. It's not the number one end all be all, but it's a thing I think about. And I think the idea of an ESOP, and this is just how I'm wired, because I'm not like, I need to make the most amount of money in the world. I need to go hunting and fishing a lot. That's for sure. I need to drink a lot of light beers with awesome people like you. That's for sure. I don't need the most amount of money in the world. I need to make sure my team makes a shitload of money. That's important to me. I will make money too. If they do really well, I will too. But I don't know that my end all be all is to like sell out of it. but I also know that I can't run it forever. Like that's physically impossible. I will die. And so I'm kicking around the idea of like an ESOP or something like that. Have you guys, because I think you have a partner in your business too, right? That you started the landscaping with and did the issue ID with. Do you guys have a plan? Do you have an exit strategy? Do you have a open door, whatever? Like what do you see down the pipeline for you guys?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of two-pronged. So first of all, we have like the overall company vision and where that's going. And that, like, even if I were to exit the company doesn't cease to exist, or I hope not. I hope it's not that kind of exit, right?
Pace,
But
dude. I mean,
yeah,
like at some point, your employees might kick you out of there if you keep coming back and screwing stuff up. They're gonna be like, "You just need to stay gone, dude. You're fired.
totally, exactly.
Go sit
Yeah,
on, go snowboard, and we'll send you a dividend check every once in a while. Get your ass out of here."
exactly. So we have the company vision, and that, like, for me is kind of in line. Like last episode when I was on, we talked a lot about like how I kind of came up in it, where I started as an employee,
Mhm.
worked my way up, got to learn like a bunch of new skills that I didn't have before. Worked in like every position from like the lowest rung up to the highest rung when I eventually like bought the company. And so the company vision for me is like being able to recreate that for basically anyone who comes in our doors, if that's the path they want to take. Like, I don't want a ceiling there. I want them to be able to go all the way up, and that includes ownership. So for me, long term, for the vision of the company, like, there's obviously going to have to be some sort of like growth and being able to provide that ownership opportunity, whether that's franchise model or some other side of model, like an ESOP or something where it's like they can have that, and not just like the financial side of that, but more, probably even more, like the skill set side of it. Like, I would
Yeah.
love to have like a coaching kind of like business within our business, right? That's like
Yeah.
coaching people to be future owners, whether that's for us internally for a cut above, or for them to go off and start their own thing, whatever it is. Um, so that's the vision long term. Now, as far as me and like my involvement, yeah, like I have an exit plan, and I have a partner, Jonathan, in the business. He didn't start with me. He came on later, but
Yeah.
and he's kind of the same way. He's a partner on Issue ID as well. So like we have other irons in the fire, and
Mhm.
at some point, like we're probably going to want to transition to focusing on that more, and like let the reins off, and let as we kind of talked about prior to starting this, like let the team work without me coming in and like screwing things up
Yeah.
and mixing things
Let me
around.
just
So,
let me get in here and see what message you guys can fix up. Let's
yeah,
screw
exactly.
that up and see what you got.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, but yeah, that company vision, like that'll remain the same, I think, whether I'm a part of the company or not. Like that's just ingrained in who we are, right? Like we want to grow that. That's, I hire people based around that, like people who believe in that vision. And that's been a lot of the work that we've been doing this year, is like making sure we have a leadership team in place that has that same vision, that'll keep that going whether I get hit by a bus tomorrow or not. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at the moment. We have a long way to go till we get to that point, but I think that it's incremental steps, and each one of those steps is like a new kind of fun thing that we get to do, right? Where it's like, let's try this. Like maybe it's not franchising yet, maybe it's this thing where it's like we're gonna just do like an equity sort of situation, like an ESOP or something like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe after we do that for a while, it's like, hey, we got some guys that like want to own a franchise, let's try like figuring that out. So yeah,
You
and
could
I
probably
think
do both.
eventually,
You could probably do both.
yeah, and I think eventually, like, to be quite honest, like I think at a certain point it'll get beyond my skill set, like to take it there. Like I think
Mhm.
that that's when you start looking at like your personal exit plan, is it's like, can I really be the one to continue taking it to this next level? Maybe I can. Do I want to is another question, and so
Yeah.
maybe someone else is better suited to come in and do that. That's a long way off, but it's things that we think about for sure.
You might be like super busy doing boob events and getting out fishing or canoeing or whatever, and you might not have time to run a business anymore. Should be
Right,
boobing
that's
it up.
true. Just boobing
Um,
all the time.
boobing all the time. My wife did ask me, she's like, "Are you sure you don't want to change that name?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I like where it's at. It didn't start there. It started as Oboe, outdoor business owners. Started as Oboe, and then somebody changed it when we were up actually canoeing in the Boundary Waters. My buddy Tor said, "How about Boo, business owner outdoors?" And then my buddy Seth was like, "Well, you got to put a badasses on the end of that so it can be Boob." And I was like, I just don't like the evolution of it. Seems like a natural consequence of a bunch of idiot business owner dudes that get together and do outdoorsy stuff. Like it kind of feels, and I have high expectations of the logo and the swag, like real high expectations of what we come up with.
That was my first thought. I'm like, man, I cannot wait for the swag that comes with joining this group.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only reason we're going to exist. Actually, is just to make cool stuff for us to have. That'll be it. So give us a little background again on Issue ID, how you and Jonathan got into it, like what the evolution of it was. When we talked to you, it wasn't like in the rollout stage. You had it going, but you had a bunch of things that you were working on and developing. And so I think it'll be cool just to get an update on what you've done over the last year with it and cool stories, cool usages, just the badassery of it. And selfishly, part of me is like, hey, can I use this in pressure washing yet? Can I use it in window cleaning yet? Like, where are we at with other industries for us selfish idiots that own other businesses? Give us a little update background on how you and Jonathan got into it, and then we'll take it from there.
Cool. I'm gonna open another beer here before we do that.
That's a good idea. I'm about this Coors Light is getting real low. I got two more on reserve in the beer fridge.
Nice. So background on Issue ID. I talked a little bit at the top of this about, I'm a landscaper. Like I'm not a software developer. I've been in the landscape industry since I was 15, at the same company since I was 15. And we just had a problem. Like we had a problem within our business and it came down to site management. Like there's so many moving pieces as we've been talking about. And site management was like a clear thing that was lacking in our business. And initially that was kind of the main thing was just like keeping track of all those little things that come up once you have the core contract. For us, we have that like base level recurring contract where we're just maintaining the property.
Yep.
But inevitably there's like a million things that we notice when we're on site. So it's like there's a dead tree over there, there's dead plant over there. Like I should really like notify the customer about that and provide them a price and a plan to like, improve those things. But it's like such a nightmare to keep track of all those little things. So that was one component of it. Another component was just tracking like things that we just need to fix is not even a sales opportunity, right? It's like, hey, like you guys forgot to weed over here, or you need this or that or whatever.
There's
like
the internal issues and the external issues.
Exactly. Yeah. So we didn't really have a good solution for that, a good way of tracking all those things. And that was the problem that we were faced with. And then, Jonathan works with me at a cut above. And so we started talking about it. Jonathan has a background in technology. He's owned and exited multiple SaaS businesses.
A nerd. Such a nerd.
Nerd. Such a nerd.
One of my buddies that owns a gym refers to me as a nerd ass nerd. And
I like that.
Double nerd ass nerd.
Yeah. Jonathan, total nerd, but he like his mind immediately just starts going to like, okay, we can come up with something like tech related for this. And it wasn't just us that had this problem. So I'm part of a trades like coaching group or peer group called Breakthrough Academy. And
I love the BTA. It's no boob, but it's pretty cool. Still cool.
It's awesome. But
I knew needs a little bit of work. Their acronym needs a little bit of work, but otherwise a lot of value.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, I had met another landscaper from that group that I'd known now for years when we were kind of exploring this problem. And he had the same problem. He's based in Calgary, and he actually was the one who initially came up with like a potential solution where it's like, okay, so we're already snapping photos of all these things on site. We're taking notes in a notebook. Like we just need to like have somewhere where we can snap photos and take notes. So we started using Company Cam, which is an awesome solution. And then we're like, man, I really wish that it just like had the pens, like the locations on here, because we're at homeowners associations. I've got 50 pictures of trees on the site, and like they don't care about the pictures of the trees necessarily. They want to know like, where is that tree? We
Yeah,
just want
which
to
tree
prioritize
is that?
these
There's
trees.
1,000 trees. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we started with, was like, okay, maybe we can come up with something where we can just like pen the location on a map. And it was really cobbled together at the beginning. And then that started to work, and we really started to develop it into like a software. So, in its simplest form, it's just taking photos on site, whether it's you, an account manager, a crew lead, whatever it is, of, either internal issues or external issues. And it's automatically pinning the location on a map, and then it's also creating an online portal for your customer to view these things. And essentially, especially for those like sales opportunities, turning it into like an Amazon, like an online store. So at that point, it's just add a price to it, add a description to it, turn it into like an e-commerce item, right?
Do you
And
do you guys use it then even before you're on site? Like, do you use it if you had an estimate and the customer is saying, "Hey, I kind of want this done and do that," and when you go look at the property, you're like, "Oh yeah, here's those things, but here's the other things that we saw. Let me just give you the menu and just check the boxes." Do you use it like just
yeah,
even in the sales process before you're out there?
yeah, we use it before we even. So a couple ways. So first of all, we use it before we've even landed the maintenance contract. Now, like when we're just out investigating the property for the maintenance contract, I'm walking the entire property and snapping all those things. So they're
Yeah.
getting a maintenance contract proposal, and they're also getting this online portal for them, showing them like, here's all the other stuff that we noticed on your property. Also, I assign a grade to it, so it's like a health inspector, right? Like an A, B,
Yeah.
C, D, F,
Yeah.
and I say like, currently your property is a C. Just by signing the maintenance contract with you, we think we can get that to a B. And then, to get it to an A, like, here's the list of things in your customized portal that would get you there. And that gets us a lot of, like, we win big maintenance contracts just based off of that, right? Where
Mhm.
it's like, man, no one
Yep.
else gave me this. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane. The other side of it is, before we even go to the site, like, this is actually a new development since last time we talked, but we developed a feature inside of Issue ID where we realized, like, okay, that's great. Like, you go to the site, you snap photos, you build an online store essentially, and you have ways to like pass the internal issues onto your crews. That's all great. But like, kind of to your point, like, what if I don't have time to go to the site right now? I don't even have time to like find these things on the site at the moment. But I want my customers to know, like, if they're seeing things, I want them to be able to see kind of like a menu of all the different things that I offer, right? So now in Issue ID, you can build templated issues. So think of that just as like your service list, essentially, where it's like,
Yeah.
here's all the things that we offer. Here's a stock photo of that thing, and here's the price. Whether that's a unit price, like and an average, it's like typically it's $5 a square foot, or if it's like an actual fixed price, which a lot of these enhancements for us are, where it's like small tree removal, that's anything up to 10 feet, that's going to cost X amount of dollars. Medium tree removal, 11 to 15 feet, that's this much, right?
Yeah.
So we just built this menu out, and that's a new feature in Issue ID now, which is essentially like an online store before you even do the site inspection. So
I was gonna say, so
now
there's you guys making your professional recommendation, and then there's the customer saying like, "Give me that Chinese food menu, and let me scroll through there and see what the hell all you can do." And hey, that reminds me, I got this shrub that you guys might not know I want out, but I hate that shrub. Let's get that
right.
son of a gun out of there.
Yeah, and it's a price catalog, so they have that price catalog, and for us, that's great because we serve a mix of both homeowners associations and just single family homes, right?
Mhm.
And the reality is, when you're serving hundreds, pushing thousands of single family homes, you're not going to go visit every single one of them necessarily unless they requested you to come out. But
Yeah.
what you can do is build that menu, send an email blast out to thousands of people. For us, we did an email blast to like 13,000 people and just said, hey, just wanted you to see our pricing catalog. You can access it at this link. And then they can go on and just select all those items, put them in a work order, and say, hey, these are the things I actually want done on my property. So they've qualified themselves. It's kind of automating that sales process, like we were talking about earlier. Like, they've qualified themselves, they've seen the pricing, like that sticker shock thing is passed. Like, I don't have to sit
Yep.
there and try to pitch them.
The
There's
rebuttal phase is gone. Don't even
Yeah,
have to worry about it.
exactly. And they're just saying, yeah, I want these items. this is what I want done. They submit the work order. Now we get a live work order. And so, yeah, we might have to go to the site and, get some measurements to just verify everything that they ordered and make sure that the pricing's 100% accurate before we do the job. But we're doing that on interested clients who have already qualified themselves in.
Hell yeah. I had a buddy that was in a coaching group of mine had said, and I already said the term, but I want to like throw this out there and call this out for anybody who's watching, because I find this just works so well, especially with technicians. They're afraid to sell. They don't know how to do it. They're not sure. And I talked about it earlier. Nobody wants to be sold anything. And so they feel weird trying to sell stuff because they have that same aversion. And one of my colleagues in a coaching group had said, we call ourselves professional recommenders. And I was like, that's brilliant. Like, hey, my professional recommendation is this. I do this all day, every day. And you don't have to do it, but that's busted. That needs to get replaced. Whenever you want to do it, here's the price list. Here's the menu. And we had this was always frustrating to me. We had probably the best natural salesperson I've ever run into. He could strike up a conversation with anybody. He had no fear of rejection. He had this mechanism to find common ground really quickly. And I'll tell you one of the ways he pitched it to us, because we actually had him. He was an employee of ours, not an employee because he did not meet our core values. He had some really weird challenges. But we actually had him help like train our guys to do upsells. And one of the things that he had said, there's a few things he had said. One is, I come in like a Labrador. I'm just in there wagging my tail, and I just want to like sniff some butts and see who's wagging their tail back. And if they're wagging their tail back, we're going to talk. And if they're not, I'm out. Like, I just need to figure out who's wagging their tail, and I'm talking to those people. And if they're not wagging their tail, I'm out. And I thought that was such a good analogy. Like, are they a Labrador or are they not? Like, we can all picture that. We all know what a Labrador is. They come at you, they like question you, and then they're like your best friend, and they want to sniff your crotch, and then you pet them forever. And so that was like a cool analogy. And then he gave this analogy of, he used to work in restaurants, and he would always have the biggest ticket and get the best tips, and everybody wanted to know how he did it. And he said, I don't know. I just read them the menu. And I do it in a goofy way so they have fun. But I call out who's going to spend the most, and I make it a competition. Every time when I go up to a table, I say, all right, are we getting drinks? Who's getting drinks? What are we celebrating? We getting some drinks? All I want, if you're not ordering top shelf, I don't even want to talk to you. All I want to know is who's getting the top shelf drink. Here's what we got. Anybody want a top shelf drink? Sure. And then and here's what we got. And nobody went there to get a top shelf drink, but 1 out of 10 times somebody was like, you know what? We are celebrating. Let's get ourselves a top shelf drink. And so he would get a rally going. And then like when one person does it, a couple people are going to do it, right? And then when the food came, and then he would get them drinking. And then when it was food time, he's like, all right, here's the menu. Here's what we got. I'm going to tell you what the best thing is. And all I want to know is who's getting a steak. That's who I'm talking to first. I don't care what anybody else wants to order. I'm not starting over here and working around that way. Who's getting a steak? That's who I'm talking to. And so he would, and nobody went there to get a steak, but he would just read the menu and list off the steaks. And he would do the same when he was out doing window cleaning and pressure washing. He'd be like, I know you signed up for this. Here's my professional recommendation of like what's going on in your house. And what I want to know is like, I'm out here. I'm here and you got me. Are we doing this today or what? Are we like, I'm here. I'm wagging my tail. I'm happy to help you. I got all the stuff. You want me to do that for you or not? And he would just make it like super plain. He didn't try to sell it to him. He just read him the menu. And I was like, man, It's like, there's no pressure. There's no pressure to buy, but 9 out of 10 times that customer didn't even know that thing was on the menu. And so if it's just on the menu, it makes it so much easier. You don't need to push them to buy it. You just say, I'm out here. Do you want, like, my professional recommendation is this thing on your property is not looking hot, and you probably know it. And if you want it taken care of, I'm here and I can take care of it. If you don't, if you're fine with it, I'm fine with it. But know that I'm here, and it's going to cost you way more to get me back out here versus if you just do it right now. So you want me to do it right now? Like, I'm here. I got the stuff. I'll do it. And he like, there was 1 month in the summer where we're like, we'd be half speed. And so guys that were doing 15 to 20,000 of production a month were down to like 5 to 10. And it was just tough. And he sold 18,000 by himself that month at jobs he was already at, to them and the neighbors. Like, and all it was he just read on the menu. That was it. It was just like lightning.
Yeah, people hate being sold. They love being helped. And that's it. That's why it's a site management tool. Like, yeah, you're going to generate a ton of revenue from it, but it's because you're helping people. Like, that's our whole concept with it. I don't like selling people either. It's uncomfortable for me. I don't want to go and like, hey, you really need to do this. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's just like, here's the things I'm noticing. This is your current property score. That's just a reality. Here's all the things that would make it a better score. Let me help you. If you have questions, I can guide you. You've seen all the pricing, you've seen the menu. So it's like, now I'm just helping them to come up with a plan. I know you can't spend 150 grand right now on all these things. Great. So what can you spend? Let's put it into a plan over multiple years. And the tool allows you to do that too. Like, we've got, we do saved orders. This is what I train all my account managers at A Cut Above to do. Is it's like, your job is to go and sit down at a board meeting with them. Like, you've already done the legwork to identify all the things on site. You've already given them the menu. Now go sit down at a board meeting and help them read them the menu, and go through.
That's all it takes.
And show, and then make your recommendations. You're the expert, right? Like, you've had all those things on the menu. So like, make your recommendations.
I've eaten them all.
Yeah. So let them know, like, it makes most sense to deal with these irrigation issues first before we do any planting. So let's prioritize the irrigation. Cool. Here's all the irrigation issues. That comes out to X amount of dollars. Does that work with your budget? Oh, it does. Cool. All right. Do you want to add more this year? You want to start working on next year's plan? Okay, cool. Let's move on.
Are we doing the backyard? Are we doing the front and back? And do you want us to? There's some that aren't working great. You just want to muscle through it, or should we replace those heads? What do you get going on?
Exactly.
Do you find that it enables your technicians to be better? Air quotes, but your technicians to be better salespeople? Does it give them that boost of confidence when they're out there too? Because I feel like technicians have a huge aversion to trying to do sales. Like, it's just, that's why they're a technician. They don't want to do sales stuff. They want to go crank on a wrench.
Yeah, it definitely does, because again, they have that menu. So they're already, like, you're making them the expert in the field just by giving them that. Like, they have the ability to just pull up on their phone and see, like, oh yeah, absolutely, we could do that for you. It's X amount of dollars. Now, our technicians in our business, most of our technicians in most our divisions don't interact with customers a whole lot. They're in and out, right? Like, they're on the mowers, they're in and out. They don't even see anyone. But what they do see are all those little things. They're driving every inch of the property. So they see all those opportunities. So while they might not physically be selling it to the customer, oftentimes they're the ones identifying it. So they're on the mower. They don't even have to step off. They just snap a photo of those things. And then it's a seamless handoff. The account manager, who typically deals with these customers, can be back at the office, literally just putting a price to it, grabbing it from the menu and saying, oh yeah, that's a small tree. Here's the price for that. It's a medium tree. They're just looking at the pictures and pulling the templates in. And now they can start to put that into the plan with the customer overall. So yeah, it can help the technicians because they have that menu in the field, but more than anything, it's like, it turns them into like opportunity identifiers, right? Like, they're just out there snapping photos.
Yeah. Do you, this is a bit selfish, but also I have clients that could totally use this that are not in the landscaping space. Are there people that are using it outside of the green industry? And if not, is that a play down the road? Because I mean, I already literally wrote down issue ID for Brittany. Like, I have a garage door company that they're like, man, we send these technicians out and we have the service team, and they're so uncomfortable selling to clients, even though it's like the spring is shot and the cables are shot and the operator up there is shot. I know it's called an operator because they had to teach me that. I just called it the grindy motor thingy. But they're like, I don't know how to train our people to sell. And I'm just like, man, that's hard because it's like they don't need to sell anything. They just need to point it out to the client, but the client doesn't want to go look at their garage door stuff. And it could totally be an issue ID type of thing. Is that a thing you started solving already, or is it a thing you plan on solving? Or are you like, no, man, we're green industry. We got this lockdown here. We're staying here.
Yeah, it's a great question. We fully started this just to focus on the landscape industry initially because it's what we knew, right? We are very like narrow-minded, just intentionally, like we just want to focus on landscaping. So even, and I think last time we talked, like we were just starting to take this thing out into the real world. Like we had used it with a beta group for a long time, but we were just like putting it out in the real world last time that we talked. And then since then, we've had like quite a few people who are outside the landscape industry come in. And obviously we're not gonna be like, nope, nope, nope. This is built for landscapers. Sorry.
You're not cool. You're not in the boot club. You don't get to use it.
Well, and like we met at the huge convention, right? And it's like a bunch of power washers and window cleaners and stuff there. And so like it was cool to like just kind of be immersed in that and see like all their problems. I'm like, oh, imagine that. A bunch of their problems are the same as our problems. So
yep. Yeah, they're walking around the property, seeing a bunch of issues, and like, how do we bring these up to a client?
Right. So we do have window washers using it right now. We have some power washing companies, soft washing companies that are using it. We have a construction consultant, which is really interesting, that's using it right now. So they're like just going in and identifying all the problems on the site. They're not actually, it's almost like a GC where they're going in, they're identifying all the problems, and then other contractors are coming in and solving those problems, but they're putting together the plan, they're putting together the progress reports. So yeah, we have like a handful. Also, definitely, still the majority of our users are landscapers because it's what we know and it's who we're talking to.
Yep.
But we have a handful of users from other industries. What I'll say is like, since we launched that that menu, essentially the pricing catalog, excuse me, that's been something that like crosses industries so easily. Because it's literally just
like you put it in, it's customizable. It's here's my service list, right? You build the menu.
Yeah, exactly. You just build your templatized services. Like, what are the core things that you offer over and over and over again? Cool. Build a menu of those items and give the pricing as close as you can. And it doesn't even have to be 100%. Like for us, we like having things because I like it being fully automated. I want to have things like end price. This is the end price. But on some things, it's like we need the square footage to know the end price. So I'm going to give you the square foot price, or I'm going to give you this, or I'm going to give you that. So yeah, that crosses all industries, to your point. Like they literally have this online store. And then same thing with the photo and the location information. Like that's usable in most industries. Where, if I'm being transparent, the area right now that it doesn't really solve the problem, at least as the maps related, is indoor things, right? Because it's like you just have a bunch of pens on a building.
It's in this garage area. It's all right here in this garage.
Right. And that's a struggle with window cleaning too, right? Because window cleaning is 3D. So it's like, especially like high-rise window cleaning where it's like,
it's on the 47th floor. This is where it's at.
But the window cleaners who are using it, they find workarounds for that. They just put it in the title, like the floor. They put it in the title. What they're really after is less of the map and more of the photo documentation and an online store or catalog of these items. And that's what they can get. So really, I think it could work for any industry. And it is like we have people using it as that. As far as are we going to continue developing to like accommodate those other industries? Yeah, absolutely. I think so. We've talked about, and some of it's like waiting for the technology to get there or developing our own sort of solutions. So example, like 3D mapping sort of solutions, right? Where you can actually have a 3D view and pull the side of the building up and see all those pens on the building. That sort of stuff exists. The challenge is we're still reliant on your phone's data. And so we all know, like, sometimes your phone GPS says you're here, but you're actually over here. It's pretty close. But well, now imagine that on a vertical, like your phone.
Oh, you're out you're riding this pigeon out here off the side of a building.
Right. And like your phone does have elevation data. So like that's just it's a formula that we can run to say from the metadata of the photo, like here's the GPS coordinates, here's the elevation minus the actual like elevation that exists on the like ground elevation there.
Yeah.
We can get all of that with an equation. The challenge is like how accurate is the GPS data? If it's even off by 20 feet, well, on a vertical
Yeah. All of a
building
sudden,
that's
you're
two stories.
off.
Yeah.
Which window are we
So,
doing here, Mrs. Jones? Was it this one or was it that one?
right.
You're just walking
So,
in on a naked old lady. Nobody likes that. Everybody loses.
right. And yeah, that's terrible.
It's happened
That's
before in our window
less.
cleaning businesses. Nobody wins. Nobody wins.
But yeah, those are problems that can be solved. And the simple solution right now is like we allow you to relocate the pen. So if it was a little off, you just grab the pen and move it to where you're standing, and then it's good. And you could do that same thing with elevation. So we're definitely exploring all those other opportunities for the other industries. And right now, as it is, it works for them. It's just, it wasn't initially built for them that way. And so
Yeah.
it's a learning curve for us too, right? Like we're talking to those people being like, dude, show me how you're using this. This is cool. Like,
Yeah.
teach me about your business.
It is funny. And I see it. I mean, it's so funny to me doing like bookkeeping for people because the business model is just so the same over and over and over again. Like we're all doing the same thing. I did books for a realtor in my last business. And when he came, he was the only realtor I had done. And he got referred by a pressure washing dude. And he's like, hey, I heard you can do this type of bookkeeping. And I was like, yeah, but like candidly, never done books for a realtor before. But if you're game, like I'll work my ass off. We'll figure it out. And we started doing it. And I was like, damn it. This is the same exact business model that we run in our window cleaning. Like the amount you spend to sell a property and the fees you owe and this and that. And then the amount you spend on admin and the amount you spend on marketing, the amount you spend to rent an office. It's the same business model as cleaning windows. Just our average ticket is $400 and your average ticket is $400,000. That's the only difference. And it was just so funny. Like, oh, we're all in the service industry, and like the percentages all pretty much shake out to the same. But in your case, the nuances are just different. Are they vertical nuances? Are they are they inside? Are they outside? And how do we document them? But we all have on-site issues. And hell, even if it was a realtor, you have on-site issues when you're trying to sell a property or buy a property and tell your customer, hey, here's the things that you need to look out for at this particular property if you're going to think about making an offer. Issue ID, here's the issues.
Right.
I think, too, you guys named it very appropriately because I see people name things so specific to an industry without thinking about the broader applications. And you guys hit it on the head, which is there's issues and we're going to ID them. And that's it.
Right.
And it can be used, and like everything has issues and everything needs to be identified. And you just cut right to the chase. You didn't pigeonhole yourself. Good job.
Well, there was probably 100 names on the table that we were deciding between, and many of them were very lawn care or landscape specific. And that was one of the key things. We're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to like long-term pigeonhole ourselves there, right? Like, obviously, we're going to start focused on the landscape industry, but
what was
who knows what this is going to be used for?
What was the second best name?
Oh, I don't even know if I can remember them now. There were a lot of puns on the word pen because it drops a pin on the map.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Oh, there was just one. I remember one was just Pennant was one of them.
Okay.
I can't remember a lot of them. I'll have to pull the list up. Brandon would know off the top of his head, but I remember actually we were sitting at a BTA event in Arizona. So we were down in Arizona and we were all sitting around a table having beers, which is like our favorite pastime.
A catalyst for good ideas.
Yeah. And we were just listing names. And of course, like other tradespeople are like coming in, like just like throwing.
Well, I got some ideas. I got ideas.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's like that's why I mentioned this last time I was on the podcast, but like that's one of the reasons why I enjoy this podcast so much is because every good idea or every like knowledge sharing session has literally been this. It's been sitting around having a beer and having a conversation.
Hey, let me throw something stupid at you and we'll see if this one sticks.
Right.
When I named Best Damn Bookkeeping, I was I didn't have a specific name in mind. Actually, my LLC, the name of the LLC is Valedian LLC. It's named after my grandpa, who I grew up knowing as Vilas, but his like God-given name was Valedian. Never met anybody by that name ever. But it's just badass. Like nobody else has that name. You're not gonna fight a dude named Valedian. Like, the guy's gonna punch you right in the throat. I don't know. But I started the business right when my he had been dead for 10 years. And my grandma passed away, was his wife, and I was really proud of her, which is like a weird thing to say about your grandma that passed away. But and I maybe told this story the last time we were on the podcast because it was fresh in my mind. When she died, like she partied harder than I do, even into her, like she was 89, she was about to turn 90, and she was on her way out to the bar. Like the biggest worry with her was that she was just going to hurt somebody, like driving drunk. She was like, she pushed it too far. Grandma Pat, classic Wisconsin grandma. Like her every night of the week, she was at a different bar, in this pool and in that pool, and gambling these rip tickets. And she had to go meet these, and she would bake bread for everybody and bring bread to the bar. And like, oh, I got to go to Heads Up and deliver this to that. And then I got to go over to this bar because I got to check in here and do that. But literally she had like cardiac arrest and was dead before she hit the floor. Like she was on her way to go party and have fun with her 90-year-old friends at the bar, and boop, and was just done. And like the coroner was just like, I don't know. She by the time she knew she didn't feel good, she was already dead. And I was like, damn, grandma, like you crushed it.
Yeah.
You lived to 90 and you got to go out that way. Like that was good. And so when I started this business, it was kind of a nod to grandma, but Grandma Pat LLC doesn't sound as cool. So I went with Valedian LLC. But I was talking to one of my buddies, pressure washing buddy, and I was like, hey, I gotta start this new bookkeeping business. And he's like, you need to call it the best damn bookkeeping company around. So that when like one of your clients is talking to somebody else and they're like, who do you use for bookkeeping? Then they got to literally say like, well, I use the best damn bookkeeping company around. And I was like, that's just a long URL, man. Yeah. I like the gist of it, but it's a long URL. And so my second name, I obviously went with a version of it. I went with Best Damn. Damn Bookkeeping. The other version of it, and I was like, this would have happened if I didn't have enough time to think about it. This was like the impulsive name was bookkeeping. Like 5 or 6 B's, just because the only reaction you could possibly have is that, which is like, that's stupid and it's funny and it's catchy and like
sign me up.
But how many B's is that? Like how many? I already own the domains for like 3 B's and 4 B's and 5 B's. And it's funny, except out of like 300 clients that I had worked with, a couple, like 1 or 2 had a stutter. And I was like, man, it's hilarious until that's the dude you're talking to. And you're like, oh shit, I'm an asshole. And so I couldn't go with that one. I couldn't go with bookkeeping, but it is fun. It's cool.
It is fun. That's a great name. It's also, you would inevitably get the people who are trying to shorten it. So they're like, yeah, I work with Triple B Bookkeeping.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you're like, just say it. Say bookkeeping.
Say it correctly.
And you can change it every time. You can do like a couple B's. You can go by bookkeeping. You can go as many as you want. It's unlimited. And it's fun to say. But I didn't go with that one. That was the backup name. That was the second best name I had. But it got.
I think Best Damn Bookkeeping nails it. That's a good name.
It's good.
I also want to say, I need a Grandma Pat in my group. Like imagine someone coming to the bar and bringing you a loaf of fresh baked bread. Dude, like Grandma Pat.
Dude, Grandma Pat. And as you say that too, like if she was still alive, she'd be your grandma. She was everybody's grandma. When we were in high school, me and my buddies would literally go over to Grandma Pat's house, and she would like make us lunch. Like we had an open campus at our school. And so like some kids would be going to Taco Bell. Some kids would be going and like smoking pot. We were at Grandma Pat's house. Like it was hilarious because it's high school, right? Like all parents are worried about what their kids are up to. Me and my friends, we drank Mountain Dew and played poker, and we went to lunch at Grandma Pat's house. Like that was how we did it back when I was 16. We were driving over to Grandma Pat's house, and like she was literally all of my buddies referred to her as Grandma Pat. And if they saw her out, Like even when we were in college and beyond, if they saw her out, they would be at a bar. Of course, they'd see her at a bar and be like, "What's up, Grandma Pat?" It's just everybody's grandma. Everybody's grandma. She's R.I.P. R.I.P. Grandma Pat. Partied until she died. She partied all the way till the end. Just living it up. Classic redneck Wisconsin grandma.
Classic Grandma Pat.
Actually, and this is true too. I had my first beer when I was 4.
Really?
Hashtag Wisconsin. Guess who gave it to me?
Grandma Pat?
Grandma Pat.
Good on you,
like
Grandma Pat.
you don't have a lot of memories when you're like 3 or 4 years old. I remember out in Grandma Pat's backyard, and she's like, "You want to try it?" Like, and that, I'm 4. I just want to try everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You want to try this thing?" Sure, have this thing. I did not like it. It was disgusting. Right. But Grandma Pat gave me my first beer. She's like, "Yeah, give this a shot." Like, she knew I wasn't going to like it. It probably was the reason I didn't drink a lot in high school. It kept me out of a lot of trouble. Grandma Pat was like, "Oh, you think so? You think you're going to like this thing? You ain't going to like this. This will deter you for a while." So she had wisdom. She was smart.
Good strategy. Yeah.
It was.
Man, still a lot to learn from Grandma Pat.
I mean, lessons and lessons and lessons, man. For sure. I should. This isn't a thing you should learn, but I am curious how she got home from the bars as often as she did. She was out a lot. Yeah. There were some times where she wasn't in shape to drive and she still made it home. And we'd usually find out after the fact, which was always a little bit scary. But I always wonder, like, I rode with her when she was sober and she could hardly drive. Like, well, how did she get home when she was drunk? I don't know. I'm worried. That was the big worry. That was the big worry.
Right.
It was good. Like, legit, that was the big worry. Is like at some we had the discussion multiple times. Like, me and my parents, like, do we call the cops on her? It's really weird to call the cops on your grandma, but like, she'll disown us, right? She will. Right. She would be vindictive about it because it is her livelihood, is like her social life, but she's dangerous. It was weird. Anyway, the end on Grandma Pat. R.I.P. Grandma Pat. Lived it up. Where do you see issue ID going? Like you said earlier, is it, do you see an eventual less participation in a cut above on the landscaping side, and just you and Jonathan are spending more time on issue ID? Do you see it kind of like split time? Do you have other people working on issue ID, or is it just still you and Jonathan? What do you see as like the evolution of that thing taking off?
Yeah, so we have, well, first of all, we have 5 founders, which is crazy. So it's Jonathan, myself, Brandon, who I mentioned from Calgary, and I can't give him enough credit because really he was the one who first kind of mocked up the concept, and then we just built it from there. But Brandon, Michelle, who is his life partner and business partner at the landscape company, so
dipping the pen in the company ink, dipping the pen in the company ink.
And she's the one who has to like wrangle all of us. She's the most put together out of all of us.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Craig is just like a straight up like developer technology mind. Like he's
nerd.
Oh yeah, but like brilliant. Like he's not only a brilliant developer, but he's run many software businesses before, so he understands the business side of it.
And it's such a different business. It's not even close to running a service business. I mean, like, a SaaS business is truly like just development. Totally. And the cost up front and the margin structure long term is, it's not, you can't compare it to. It's not even close.
Oh, it's completely different. Yeah. It's but yeah, so we have those 5 founders that we started with at the beginning, and at the very beginning it was us doing a little bit of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we've added a development team now, so we have a team of roughly 4 developers. Craig is still like our head of like he's our CTO, our chief technical officer. So he's like the one doing all the R&D on any new kind of features that we're thinking of, those sorts of things. Jonathan's our head of product, so he's the one kind of like overseeing that product team and making sure the execution happens. But then we have this team of like 4 to 5 developers. all over the place, all over the world. We've got like one of our head developers, our head front end developer. She's originally from the Ukraine. She's in Switzerland now, given all the things that have been happening over in the Ukraine.
Sounds safer. Sounds safer.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we have this team of developers, and then we have two sales reps as well that we just recently added to our team. They're the ones doing like the cold calling and that sort of stuff because I hate cold calling more than anything in the world. Like you get someone on,
it's right up there with door knocking. It's right there with door
yeah, you get someone on the phone and I will talk to them as long as you need me to. Like I can talk to landscapers. That's not a problem. But cold calling, not my thing. So yeah, that's our team currently. And as far as kind of the long term plan, I think really it's just like continuing to build the best possible product that we can. And that sounds like a cheesy answer, but it's like we're having so much fun doing it that it's like every new little problem is like the most fun thing in the world to tackle, right?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
it's like we got this initial product out there and then we're like that like the online store or the catalog menu sort of thing that we talked about where it was just like well we're hearing from a lot of people like they don't have time to go to the job sites and do the site inspections so they're having trouble because they know they need to but they just don't have the time, they don't have the staff right now. Like cool, well let's tackle that then. Let's come up with a solution. And like more recently one of the things we're working on is like okay, so now you have like these hundreds, sometimes even thousands of issues for a single property that you've identified. And yeah, you can build saved orders to because it's like I said, we're training our account managers to say, like, you don't have to do this all right now. Like, I'm just here to help you develop a plan. That's all I'm here to do. And the way they've done that in the past is saved orders, right? So it's like, let's group all these things together and save them as an order for like 2024 issues. And then we'll save these as 2025 issues and these as 2026. And that worked well, but we're hearing from like our customers, so like board members and property managers where they're like, oh, I wish I just had something a bit more interactive that we could use during a board meeting or whatever. So now we're developing like a custom Kanban board view where you can just take all those issues and create different columns, whatever you want those columns to be, whether that's like the year 2024, 2025, 2026, or you want to be high priority, medium priority, low priority, whatever you want those to be. You title them just like in Asana or a Monday or whatever. And
whatever your board is, whatever you got to put in.
And you just slide the issues into those appropriate columns and it'll tally up the price for all of them. It'll give you all sorts of like functionality there. So that's about ready to roll out now, that Kanban board view. And it's like really with the pursuit of making this like a really good planning tool and presentation tool.
What is we're an hour and a half in, so I'll let you go. At some point, both of us are going to pee our pants. But I got one more question for you, and we'll wrap this thing up. What's the perspective or perception and feedback you're getting from the end client? Like, are you getting the homeowner that's giving you feedback on it too, as eventually a user of the menu, a user of the app?
Yeah.
I'm saying app. I assume it's some sort of app feature, but what's their take on it? What kind of feedback you get there?
A lot of feedback. And so like part of the feedback is like actual feedback that they're giving us, whether it's like them writing us or us surveying them or whatever. And part of it is the feedback we get just from watching how they use it and seeing like where they're running into hurdles or those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And overall, I think the general take on it is for, companies that are using issue ID, their customers generally are saying like, this is not something that we get with any other contract. So it's a unique value add for the contractor. Like I mentioned that earlier. It's like we land contracts just because we use issue ID because people are like, oh, like I've not seen this before. This is cool. No one else builds me a long-term property improvement plan.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to go with you. So that's a big one. And then there's, like a never ending sort of list of things that they're like, oh, it'd be cool if it did this. It'd be cool if it did this. So that's probably a segment that we will look at in the future, as because right now all of those end users are free users, of course, because it's like the contractor buys the subscription and then they use
Yeah,
it to
the end
present
users just this
customers.
is the tool they use to do the thing, and
Right.
the contractor's happy to pay for it because it gets that consumer to buy the things that they actually need instead of buy the things that they thought they needed.
Right. But one of the things that we've heard from that feedback is like property managers and board members and things like that, where they're like, man, I want to sign up for issue ID and just like have this property, like we own this property, and then we can just send out
Oh,
like requests to
interesting.
different contractors. Like we want to be able
Yeah,
to
like
snap all
almost
the
a
photos.
homeowner app to be like, "Here are my issues," and
Yeah,
put it out for bid in the world of
exactly.
contractors.
Yeah. So that's an area that we're definitely exploring, and will be future development and those sorts of things. But yeah, it's overall, I'd say the overall feedback from the end users is just it's a streamlined experience for them, right? It's not something that they're accustomed to seeing, and so because of that, it's like a unique to them. It's a value add for the contractor.
What's the goofiest okay, I got one more question. You know I can't
Okay.
stop. You know I can't help myself. Um, what's the goofiest, like, usage case or success case you've seen with it from one of your clients where you're like, "No shit." Like, you sold that with it? Or you found that this works for you? What's the funniest, weirdest thing you've seen so far?
Um, well, Brandon, I'll say one of the founders who uses it in his own landscape business, he loves to experiment with different products he can offer customers. So, like, not even a service, just like, I'm just going to list a shit ton of products that people can buy from us, whether it's like, he always throws out the example of a bird bath. I don't know if he's ever sold a bird bath, but he just, for whatever reason, always uses that example. It's like, I just want to offer like shit that I could easily get. I can get it wholesale and I can sell it to the customer, and we don't even have to do a service. We just like
One of
give
those
them
one
this
of those
product. So,
blow up wavy arm thingies.
yeah,
If you
exactly.
want one of those, you got something to
Yeah.
to advertise, we'll get you one of these babies.
I feel like I might have mentioned this last time, but I'm gonna say it again anyways. One
Bring it.
of the weirdest uses I ever saw was actually with my own company, which was one of our team captains kept hearing from all the crews where they're like, oh well, we had to stop to go to the restroom on the route, and so we drove 20 minutes over this way or whatever. So he just drove around taking photos of all the different like porta potties, gas stations, everything within our service area, and then
Yeah.
created a property that was just called bathrooms to
Issue
literally.
ID. He identified the
Yeah,
issue and
exactly.
he ID'd it and he put it on the map, pinned it.
Yeah. So then a crew, then they're in the area, could just pull up that and say, "Oh, here's the nearest bathroom," and they'd be able to find the bathroom.
Bam.
So, yeah. But yeah, I think we've seen all sorts of like unique sort of use cases, and I'm excited to see a lot more. I'm intrigued by the stuff I don't understand, like the window cleaners and the
Oh
like
yeah.
other industries coming in, because it's just like I don't know a lot about those businesses. So I'm like, tell me everything, teach me your ways,
Hell yeah.
and that's just fun.
I agreed. I think that's like my favorite part of a bookkeeping business is when we get a client that's in a new industry we haven't messed with a lot. Like all the principles still exist, but I have so many questions for them.
Right.
And I'm like, I've replaced. I talked about the garage door company earlier. Like, I'm not gonna fuck with that spring. I know that you're not supposed to fuck with that spring.
Yeah.
But I've like replaced hinges on mine. I replaced the operator. I didn't even know it was called an operator until Brittany and Ray were like, "That's an operator," and I was like, "Okay, I believe you." I just the motor is a motor to me.
Right.
It's got a gear. It's turns the chain. It's a motor. Um, but it is so fun, like learning the nuances and the way they think about it and how they talk about it and the pitfalls of it and all that stuff. It's like it's shit it's not foreign to us, right? We're hands
Right.
on. We get in there, we get dirty. Uh
Yeah.
I like I I'm okay with delegating stuff, but I like doing shit myself. I literally
Right.
my downstairs bathroom right now, like my main floor bathroom, right when you walk in, like the main bathroom that I take a shit in. It is the main pooping bathroom in the house. It is out of commission. This is like the third time I've had to replace the wax ring on it. Um, and now because the water had seeped out, like I had laid a subfloor in there with like a cushioned vinyl floor, but now the subfloor is shot It's just like I could have wood hardened it, but it's moldy and it sucks. So like tonight, I was like chipping away subfloor, pulling some staples. I got to wood harden the floor below the subfloor. I got to lay some new like I could have totally paid somebody to do that, but I like getting in there and figuring shit out and working with my hands. Like I do bookkeeping. Like let me break some shit. So it is super fun. Like how do you sharpen all your blades? What's your process for doing all that? When do you replace equipment versus do this? Like all of those questions come to mind whenever you start messing with a different industry. And like the more hands-on you are and the more you like fucking with stuff, the more interesting it is and the cooler it is and the more questions you have. And it's like there's just so much cool stuff to learn.
Totally. It's I feel like we've had an influx of this lately. That's actually an update which I didn't mention, not to keep taking us longer and longer, but
I mean, you know how this show goes. We might be here for another hour and a half. Who knows? I might have to text my wife and ask her a couple more beers.
We did make official our partnership just recently with Company Cam.
Nice.
So we've had an integration with Company Cam for a long time, but we just became an official integration partner with them recently.
Sweet,
and
dude.
they've been awesome.
Like that's awesome.
Thank you. They've been awesome. Like their team is awesome. It's just a great platform and it works really well with Issue ID. But we've had an influx because of that of people from other industries. Like like I was saying, our pool is very narrow. We're thinking landscapers and they have this robust environment of all these different trades businesses. So because of that, we've been exposed to all these different industries. And like you're saying, it's like I just want to like get in and be like, dude, tell me everything about your business. I want to know.
Let me come and pressure wash for a couple days. I promise I won't break anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't let me spray anything expensive.
I
do like. There's a part of me that just wants to be a technician for a couple days in all of my customers' businesses.
Right.
I just want to go out there and mess around. I'd like let me have it. Let me mess around. Let me see what's going on. Let me talk the talk. Let me walk the walk. Let me see what's going on out here.
What's this tool do? Show me this.
Except for that garage door spring. I don't want to mess with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess with that
one. I feel like I don't know that anyone ever explicitly told us not to mess with that spring, but everyone knows not to mess with that spring.
You know how like stove tops, you're not supposed to touch them. They're hot.
Yeah.
Electrical outlets, you don't put your finger in them. But at some point you electrocute yourself a little bit in your house. Usually that one you wait until you're a little bit older. Like you do it when you forget to like flip a breaker off when you're changing an outlet or a light fixture and you're like, woo, like got me. I did the digression. That happened to me when I was changing out a garbage disposal. And that's not a good spot to get zapped because you sit up real quick and then you get a zap and you get a big bump on your head. But anyway, there's that progression of doing shit yourself. And I forgot my train. I lost my train of thought, which is probably why we need to end the show. I don't know where I was going with that.
Touching the burner.
Touching the burner. Like you get electrocuted, you definitely touch the burner as a kid. Everybody did it. You had to experience that for yourself. But somehow the garage door spring, maybe it's because we as a kid, it's not accessible. And so there's no curiosity around it. There's only curiosity around it once you own a house and you're usually in your 20s or 30s. And by the time you own that house, you're like, nuh-uh, I screwed up enough shit. I know not to mess with that thing. That thing kills people. I'll touch a burner and burn my hand and get some blisters, but I ain't messing with that thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think we've seen enough things happen with similar things where we're like, nope, I'm not messing with that.
Not doing that one. Not doing that one.
Yeah.
What is the stupid? Okay. Last question. What is the stupidest thing you've messed with?
Oh God. Probably something electrical. I mess with a lot of electrical things. Most things electrical, I would say probably I've fucked around with building different music components. So
I was gonna say I feel like this is going down a musical path, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Electrocuted myself many times doing dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I've messed with or gas things is another thing. Like my dad did HVAC, and so like I would help him with that my whole life, but that
Mhm.
like makes me think that I am more capable than I actually am. So I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I can
saw my
totally
dad
replace
do
that
this
for you.
once. Oh yeah, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like that sort of thing, pulling out a furnace and realizing you have to turn the gas off before you do that. Dropped a furnace on my head once.
Oh,
Uh,
that sounds like it's
fractured,
heavy.
yeah, fractured my skull on both sides of the head trying to move a furnace out of a basement. Yeah, all sorts of fun stuff.
Just learning pains, growing pains.
Yeah.
When you said messing with gas, the first thought I had is I remember I was at Ashley Walter's house. We were in high school. We were lighting a fire. Things were wet. It wasn't lighting that good. I took the gas can, the red gas can with the old school yellow spout, and I just went
Yep.
woo. And that fire ran up that line of gas so fast. And I shrieked like a little girl, and I just smacked the side. I don't know why. I just smacked the side of the gas can, and it put it out. And I don't know if it would have
Huh.
blown. I don't know if it would have blown up in my face, and I'd be sitting here all charred up. I don't know if it would have blown me to oblivion. I don't know if it just would have fizzled out if it was just burning the fumes. But I'm glad I never found out.
Yeah.
Like that one sent a message to me. I was like, I saw my life flash before my eyes when that fire ran up that freaking line of gas and went into the spout. And I was just like, it's a bomb. Like, I don't know what I yelled, but I probably yelled, it's a bomb. And I smacked it and I dove and I ran away. And I looked back and I was like, huh, I think it's out. It
All
didn't.
good.
It didn't blow up. It didn't blow up. But damn, that scared the shit out of me. It was a spooky one. That was a spooky
Fair
one.
enough. That is a spooky one.
I've cut a lot of wood in my day, a lot of running chainsaws, and I feel like that scares me too. Like
Oh, chainsaws scare the shit out of me. I
my
run a landscape business and I hate chainsaws.
dude, it's just like you got all these exposed teeth ripping
Yeah.
around, and then you're like cutting down these trees, and branches aren't light, and they have a lot of gravity.
Right.
There's a lot of gravity going on, and gravity sucks when it hurts you. Uh, and I've had a few like near misses. I had one time, and this is just one of those. This is like this is how I know that my dad is Grandma Pat's kid. This is for sure. We were out cutting wood, and it's I don't remember if it's spring or fall. I don't know if it actually matters. But we're cutting wood. I'm in college. I remember like my girlfriend being in town for it. She didn't come and help us. She was just hanging out at my house with my mom, and we're 30 minutes outside of town. We're out at our hunting land. We got like 150 acres that we deer hunt, and we're cutting a load of wood. And I think the trees are already down, but we're throwing them up on the sawhorse and cutting them up and throwing them in the back of the truck. And somewhere my dad, maybe we were cutting them down. My dad like bent over to grab a different log, but when you stop running the chainsaw, the blade keeps going. And the way he leaned or the way he set it down, it like grabbed his jeans and just like into his leg, like on the inside of the leg where it's like fatty and
Yeah.
like skinny, skinny, not like skinny, not like fat and skinny, but like a lot of loose skin. And so it like grabbed his jeans and grabbed his skin and just like put a 3-inch hole in his leg.
Oof.
And so he like throws the saw and like jumps down, and then he like puts a bunch of pressure on it. And I'm like, holy shit, like that looks bad, right?
Yeah.
Like super fleshy, blood freaking all over the place. And it's his leg. And I'm just like, man, if that hit like the wrong thing, I don't know that we're gonna get to the hospital fast enough. We're a full load of wood in 45 minutes from the fucking hospital. And so he jumps in the passenger seat of the truck. I jump in the driver's seat and I fired up, and he's like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm driving. And he's like, what? Load up the rest of the wood. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you just cut yourself with a chainsaw. Like, I'm driving and we got a long way to go. Like, we're going. And he's like, it's not that bad. And he like pulls his hands up and they puts them back down. Right. It's like, oh, gotta put some pressure on this. Well, like, are you sure, dude? Like, you just like, he's like, it's not even, it like barely got me. I'm just like, dude, you got a fucking.
It's a flesh wound.
Yeah, it's a flesh wound. I've seen worse. Your arm's gone, Dad. So I've never loaded a truck of wood so fast. I'm back there, like we had most of it cut, but I must have looked like a cartoon. I just like 4 limbs going, just wood flying in the back of that truck. I shut the tailgate. We're on the road. I'm going down. It's country roads. I'm going like 65, ripping down them. And he's like, why are you going so fast? I'm like, dude, you have a fucking hole in your leg, man. I'm going fast because you got a hole in your leg. I'm getting you to the hospital. He's like, we don't need to go to the hospital. Take me home. Like, I'll take a shower. I'll clean it up. I'll eat some lunch. Then I'm going to the hospital. I'll drive myself to the hospital. I'm like, Dad, you got have you seen yourself? Like, all I see is the blue jeans. I don't know how bad it is underneath. I just see blue jeans with blood all over them. And that gash is like 4 or 5 inches. And I imagine your skin is about the same, like underneath that. And the son of a bitch took a shower, ate lunch. I think he even took a nap. And then he drove himself to the hospital and got 30 stitches. And they had to like pull his skin together, right? Like that part of your skin, it just ripped. And I was just like, man, you crazy, boy. You crazy. Now in his, I don't know if this is in his defense. In alignment with that story, up in northern Wisconsin, they have a cabin on a lake. There's a bar on the lake called Alpine Resort. It's not a resort. It's a bar on a lake. It's a weird name for a bar on a lake. They have like a couple trailers you can stay in, I guess. Tiny ass little bar. And his nickname there is Wild Boy. So I think it goes along with a dude that would bury a chainsaw in his leg. But that's the thing that gets me. Like, I've had a few close calls with the chainsaw, and including watching my dad bury one in his leg. It's weird. Those teeth scare me a little bit.
They're made to dig and go deeper. That's
all they do. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't take much. And there's like, I mean, they just go.
Chainsaw, anything primitive like that, that's like, let's put an engine on these blades and spin it around. Like that sort of shit.
Scoop this bitch up. Let's let her rip. Let's see how fast we can get this thing to turn.
Like any farm equipment, that stuff just scares the shit out of me. You ever looked at farm equipment? It's just a series of spinning blades and things that'll eat you alive.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just a bunch of knives. Just a bunch of knives and all sorts of contortions to cut shit.
Yeah. What if we put these knives on a giant engine? Like, what would that do?
Rip. Yeah. I do have I have a buddy Jerry that has 1,000+ acres and he farms in kind of central Minnesota. And I hunt on it every once in a while. And I was talking to him a couple weeks ago and I said, Jerry, I got to get my kids up. Like, they don't know where their food. I mean, we hunt a lot. We process all of our own food. We garden. My kids know where food comes from, but they don't know how food is manufactured. And I want them to see that side of it too. Like they help me process deer. They help me pick the garden. Like we do a lot of our own food stuff, but we grocery shop. And I just want them to know where that starts. And it starts at Jerry's farm. And the technology in those tractors is crazy. Nuts. It's bonkers. And Jerry has 1,000 acres, right? There's farms that are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of acres. And Jerry's 1,000-acre farm, he's got all the technology in the cab of his combine with all the GPS stuff, and it's reading him all the data. And I'm just like, it's as much of a math game as running a home service business. Everything is to the inch of how you plant it and how you fertilize it and how you harvest it and what your yield is and all the stuff that goes into it. It's freaking bonkers. It's cool.
It is. It's nuts.
Jason, what didn't we cover? I told you we'd stop at an hour and a half, and now it's an hour 53. We get a little carried away.
Yeah.
A couple 2-tree beers here. What did we miss?
I don't know that we missed it. I could think of one thing we missed actually, but this is a good segue because I feel like we'll have to continue this conversation. But on the next section of this conversation, I'd like to have you on because we just launched our podcast, The Beer Garden.
That's right. You guys, what did you? So you got your Facebook group, and I saw you rebranded it, which I was like, I saw that, and I was like, fuck, I need to have Jason back on the show and drink some beers with that guy. It's been like a damn year since we caught up. What did you rename it to? What's the podcast? What do you got going on?
Yeah, so the Beer Garden is our podcast. The Facebook group is the Beer Garden, a landscape leaders roundtable. And
Sounds
basically,
it sounds like a place I would fit in. Sounds like a place for me.
It's like I was saying earlier, like it's meant to be just like a super casual environment where we can sit around, drink beers, talk about the industry, and not have all the like stuffiness and pressure that oftentimes comes with a lot of those Facebook groups and stuff like that, where it's
Thank you.
yeah. So yeah, the podcast is obviously we have to have you on. We'll continue the conversation there. But really, it's Brandon and I are the hosts, both partners at Issue ID. But the whole idea is just that we pick a topic and we just sit down and have some beers. It's what we would do anyways. It just happens to be that we're pressing record. So yeah,
I dig it. It sounds a lot like this podcast. It sounds a lot like this one.
It is very similar. It's it started out as we were talking about like, you know, we do this sort of stuff anyways, where we're sitting down having these conversations and we're like, well, you know, like we should really start building some content for Issue ID and that sort of stuff. And then we're like, you know what, like if we're going to do this, like I don't want to sit down in front of a camera an hour every week and just be bored out of my mind. Like, let's just have a good time with it and do what we do anyways. So yeah, it's we've had a lot of fun with it. We've got some good guests lined up. And yeah, we would absolutely love to have you on.
Shoot me some dates. We'll get it on. In a funny. This isn't full circle. This is a tangent of the circle anyway. Ben owns a $3+ million sewer and drain repair business in the Twin Cities. He's my hunting buddy. He drew the elk tag. I was like I said that earlier, I was just like carrying his shit. I was the mule. Like I was the hunting bitch. But as we were hunting, we've identified a thing, and this has happened to us like the last 3 or 4 years. I kind of introduced him to hunting. I've been doing this since I was like 4. Since Grandma Pat gave me a beer, I've been out chasing animals. Ben hadn't been, but he's super into it, and he's all about it. And one thing we have found is we have the best luck, and I see this in business too, and it's hard to pinpoint, but there's a high correlation between just doing shit that's a lot of fun with the right people and success. And it's maybe it's that you're just motivated, maybe it's that you're engaged, maybe it's that you got the right mindset for it. But we had even said that when we were on this elk hunt. There was one day we're like, we just really don't know what to do. And should we go do this and should we go do that? And we literally, our decision matrix was, let's just go have the most fun. Like, what sounds the most fun? And it just tends to be that if we're out dicking around and having fun, we have a lot of success. And maybe it's because we stay there longer. Maybe it's because we're in the right mindset. And maybe it's because the animals, maybe we're like Disney princesses. We talked about it last night. Actually, our guide, we determined that we had an outfitter for the second week of our hunt. And he called in like 2 calf elk, a mule deer, and a couple rabbits. Like, dude was a freaking Disney princess. They were all coming at him. Maybe that's just it. Maybe all the wildlife just know that we're having fun and they want to be part of it. I don't know what it is, but when you're doing cool stuff, everybody wants to be part of it. So I'm all about it. I'll drink to that.
Life lesson. Cheers.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever I'm in, sign me up. We'll get it on the schedule. Any closing comments? Any closing thoughts? Besides, I gotta once I get Boob up and running, once I get the business owner outdoor badass group up and running, I'll get you a formal invite. It'll come via singing telegram. We'll get that to you.
Fully expect that. No, I don't think. I think we covered it. I'll just thank you again for having me on it. This is always awesome, and I think to close out, we should probably cheers Grandma Pat.
To Grandma Pat.
To Grandma Pat.
Just living it up. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for putting up with me being a little bit late trying to get my yahoos to bed. My wife had like work stuff, so just
no worries.
I put 3 kids to bed, and they're asleep. I won. Victory is mine. Thanks for hanging out for a couple hours. It just seems to happen that way. It always seems to happen that way. I appreciate you hanging. Business nerds, thank you guys for hanging. Thanks for hanging out. Shout out Service Monster. This doesn't happen without Service Monster. They pay for this thing to get produced, which is super cool because I used to pay for it and now they help pay for it. And making content ain't free. So thank you, Service Monster, for supporting the stuff that we get to do. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Issue ID. We'll see you. We'll see you on your podcast whenever we get that thing going. Looking forward to it. And nerds, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and work harder. Earn some pride. We'll see you next week. Peace out.